Morning, guys. Welcome to Coffee Chat. Guys, it is so good. Now, that was not my first sip, but it is my first cup, and I am so glad to be able to come out here and share it with you this morning. Don't you like just my roasty fire? It is really amazing. Guys, it is just really cold out there, and so that's why I'm doing it out here in front of the fireplace, so it's kind of a nice ambiance for us to have our coffee chat. Now, something that is going on today, just to share this with you, we are getting a ton of major players out there sharing some very bullish news. In fact, Brad Garlinghouse, he has made a tremendous statement about what he thinks is coming for 2026 in this ecosystem. And guys, you have got to hear this. It is truly amazing. Just check this clip out right here.
Look, I think crypto has gone through cycles. And when you have risk on, people are excited. They are, now you have kind of a risk off moment. There's uncertainty. I personally will echo some of the things Richard said. There are so many macro factors that are continuing to provide tailwinds for this industry that I think as we go into 2026, I don't remember being this optimistic in the last handful of years, where you do have, as Richard said, regulatory clarity in the largest economy in the world. And I think people underprice this. 22% of global GDP is the United States. And this is a market that has been really openly hostile to crypto for 4 or 5 years, or maybe longer. And now you have that has changed significantly pretty quickly, but the institutions are still catching up with that to some degree. You saw Franklin Templeton on stage here, you saw BlackRock on stage. Just this week, I think Vanguard has now opened up, Vanguard historically has said, we won't touch crypto. And now they've had a massive sea change. That's just one of many things that are creating those tailwinds. And so I'm super optimistic about the year ahead. The last thing I'll say on this, which I think we'll also probably all agree about on this, is we are also seeing real-world applications where it's not just about the speculation. You're finding easier to use interfaces so that crypto isn't just about the speculation, it's about solving real-world problems. And to sustain that long-term optimism, that long-term bull market, I think you're going to see more and more of that.
Now, guys, did you hear that? I'm telling you, when you think of, these players, now Brad Garlinghouse, come on, the guy is in the room of a lot of different offices. He's hearing a lot of stuff, of course, even, in there with the president and on and on. And their sentiment about what they see coming and the application is going to be wild. Now, this month of December, it is gearing up to be something absolutely massive for this space. Of course, what we've got going on January 10th is, a very, very, probable drop in the interest rates here in the United States. Now, that, of course, puts liquidity into the market, but something else is going on, guys, that could really have some amazing impacts in this space. And of course, I think a lot of you have heard about this, but on January the 19th, Japan is considering get this, raising its rates. Now, the thing is, Japan has practically had a zero interest rate for the last 30-some years. And what that has provided the global economy is truly astounding, because a lot of, major businesses would go in there, they would borrow, they would buy the yen, borrow against it because the rates were so low. And of course, they would take that money, convert it into US dollars, and make investments in things around the world and get a tremendous yield at almost practically zero interest rates, right? And of course, that type of carry trade is what they call that, of course, has been going on and has been bolstering a lot of the Western economies for a number of years. Well, what's going on now is if Japan starts raising those rates, what happens is it's the complete reverse of that. And this is where you get that term reverse carry trade. Well, the reverse carry trade is, hey, all these folks that went out there and borrowed that cheap money to employ it and in all these various, marketplaces around the world, well, they start liquidating positions to go cover that and repay that. And this is where you watch markets truly unwind. Now, why would this in any way be bullish for XRP? Well, because in that environment, guys, liquidity matters. Now, if we should see that in December, My guess is that all the markets initially bang, and especially the crypto market. And the reason for it is because crypto is so very liquid. I mean, they can literally sell their Bitcoin, this, that, and whatever very, very quickly. And that's where we see these big time drops. And in those events, as far as I'm concerned, those dips are for buying and not for crying, because the utility is going to outweigh the volatility. Get that? The utility of the asset, the protocol, is going to eventually outweigh the volatility of the market. Big time deal. And maybe that's going to be our utility outweighing volatility. But needless to say, the fact is, when that happens, XRP could literally shine. Because you see, guys, it was absolutely created to handle all of that, cross-border remittances in 3 to 5 seconds. Because in those events, liquidity, speed, assuring that the settlement of it is going to be secure, all that's going to matter big time. And XRP supplies it. Now, the thing to really think about is, what you've got over in Japan is probably one of the greatest levels of adoption for XRP that exists in the wide world, with SBI, one of the biggest banks over there, and a lot of other banks. They are so familiar with the XRP ledger, done hundreds of tests on it, and of course with XRP, that very well could drive the price of XRP to limits that people don't even realize because of the demand. See all these markets, supply and demand, to solve a global liquidity crisis. Now, initially, I think we'll see some great buying opportunities should that happen. But then you're going to watch, and it could happen overnight, guys. It could happen just that fast. And that's why I think a lot of people have underestimated what the power of XRP could do, because they're looking at it in this little isolated bubble. They're not really seeing it from a global market capacity and the problem that is out there and genuinely trying to solve. And I think this is why you hear Brad Garlinghouse and different folks, getting into this space. Do you think Vanguard just all of a sudden changed their tune just, for some? No, guys, they're looking down the road at what's coming and what could potentially happen. And of course, you got major players, BlackRock, attending Ripple Swell, and on and on. That would have never, and I mean never, have happened in the prior administration, and certainly something that we, would have longed for many, many years ago. Well, here it is. And what blows my ever-loving mind is that while you've got all this bullish sentiment going on with the industry and things like that, retail is literally capitulating in absolute terror. And that tells you everything, guys, you need to know. If you're ever going to learn how these markets work, you have got to learn the psychology of the market. That's for sure. It is changing, and it is changing so rapidly. And, this is a major deal. And that's how we're going to transition into this new digital economy. I absolutely believe it, guys. And so many amazing things happen. This right here, absolutely phenomenal, guys. Don't miss it. It is going to be powerful. And I'll tell you what, we've got another amazing video planned for you later on today. But guys, keep your chin up. Actually get out there, focus, and get strategic in what you're doing, because what's about to happen next is going to literally change the way the wide world even works right there. So guys, I'll tell you what, until later on when we have another fantastic video for you, have a fabulous one and take care.